In the last video, we talked about modeling data with quadratic functions. Now we're going to talk about properties of a parabola. So we talked about what a quadratic is written, the form a quadratic is written in. So I'm not going to talk about that again, but it's there at the top if you want it. This is what a parabola looks like. Once again, we talked about this in the last video. So I'm not going to really explain a whole lot about that, but this stuff is new with the properties of a parabola. So when you have f of x, there should be an f there. F of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. You can find the axis of symmetry. So it's the line that divides the parabola into parts that are mirror images of each other. So you can find that as x equals negative b over 2a. And the vertex of a parabola is the point which intersects the axis of symmetry of the parabola. So to find its coordinates, you would take whatever you get for your axis of symmetry and plug that in to find that for the y coordinate. So this would be your x and this would be your y. Some properties of a parabola. The x-intercept is the point or points where the graph of the parabola cuts the x-axis or crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is the point where the graph of the parabola crosses or cuts the y-axis. Apparently we didn't want to use y today. When a is positive, it opens up, and when a is negative, it opens down. So if the parabola opens up, then whatever you have for your vertex, the y-coordinate of your vertex is the minimum value, and if it opens down, that same y-coordinate will be the maximum. So let's do some examples. So in this first example we want to graph, y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. So we want to find the vertex. Well, before we find the vertex, let's find a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is negative 2, and c is negative 3. So I want to find this. Now I want to find my vertex and axis of symmetry. I don't care what order you find them in. Sometimes I'll find the axis of symmetry first and then find the vertex. It doesn't really matter. So to find the axis of symmetry, we want x equals negative b over 2a. And remember, this is written as an equation because it is a line. So b is already negative 2, so we're going to take a negative 2 and make it negative and divide it by 2 times 1. So we get 2 over 2, which is 1. So x equals 1. So I know that the x-coordinate on my vertex is also 1. So now we're going to take 1 and plug it into my function. So y equals, let's write it down here, y equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. Once you plug all that in, you get negative 4. So my vertex is negative 4. So that is my starting point with my parabola. So let's find 1, negative 4 on here and plot my vertex. And then with a parabola, you're also going to go, so if I had a parent parabola, let's graph that in red. I'd start at 0, 0, go 1 squared is 1, negative 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, negative 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and negative 3 squared is 9. So I would graph my parabola like that. And I didn't stretch it, this parabola, or anything like that because my a is 1. So if I wanted to graph this one, I would still go over 1 and up 1 on both sides of my vertex, and then go over 2 and up 4, and then over 3 and up 9. From my vertex, not from where I want, not from the previous point, but from my vertex. So the one written in black is this parabola, and the red one is my parent function. So red parent. You do not necessarily need to graph the parent function on there. I just thought I would so you knew what we were talking about. So problem 2 says, what is the minimum value of 2x squared plus 8x plus 6? So before we do anything, let's think about it. Well, it has a minimum value, right? Because it opens up. So that's a plausible question. So let's label A, B, and C. A is 2, B is 8, and C is 6. We want to find our axis of symmetry. Which x equals negative b over 2a, which is equal to negative 8 divided by 2 times 2. Negative 8 divided by 2 times 2 is negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2. So x equals negative 2. So if I find my vertex, which if we look back at the top of our notes here, let's use purple because I like purple. So when a parabola opens up, the y value of your vertex corresponds to the minimum value of the parabola. So let's just find our vertex. So negative 2 is my x, and let's plug that back in to find y. 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 6 gives me negative 2. So my vertex is 2, negative 2, 2. Negative 2, negative 2, it helps. Let's just go ahead and graph it since I have the graph here for us. But that would be my minimum to answer the question. But let's just practice graphing. So there's my minimum. I'm going to go over 1 and up 1 on both sides. No, I'm not, because it stretches by 2, because A is 2. I'm going to go over 1 and up 2 this time on both sides. And then I'm going to go over 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to go up 8 on both sides. And that's good for this one. And it helps if I can graph the line correctly. Well, I missed the dot, but you get the point.